What up, though? Brooklyn Eagle, Brooklyn, New York newspaper, Tuesday, January 19th, 1892. January 19th, 1892. Brooklyn Eagle, Brooklyn, New York newspaper. The Aryan race includes all or nearly all of the people of Europe. These embrace the Celtic, Italic, Hellenic, Teutonic, Slavonic, Dutch, and English branches, and some others of less importance. The Persians and the Hindus belong to the Aryan people. Again, the Aryan race includes all or nearly all of the people of Europe. These embrace the Celtic or Celtic, Italic, Hellenic, Teutonic, Slavonic, Slavs or slaves, Dutch and English branches, and some others of less importance, the Persians or Iranians, and the Hindus or the people who are termed Indians today falsely, belong to the Aryan people. The Representative, Minneapolis, Minnesota newspaper, Wednesday, June 1st, 1898. Again, the previous article was in the Brooklyn Eagle, Brooklyn, New York newspaper, 1892. This article is from the Representative, Minneapolis, Minnesota newspaper, 1898, around the same time. Wednesday, June 1st, 1898, the Representative, Minneapolis, Minnesota newspaper, titled The White Race, Its Origin and Its Greatness. Speech delivered by Honorable Ignatius Donnelly at Turner Hall before the Sons of Norway, May 17th, 1898. This was happening. The most striking and significant fact in connection with this globe of ours, how does he know that? He should have gave us some context as to how he knows the soil that we stand on, the surface, the plane, the planet that we stand on. He should have gave us some context as to why he believes it's an actual globe or it's a ball. And I'm not saying whether I believe or don't believe. It really don't matter. Because unless you know, you don't know. And last time I checked, me personally, I ain't never been up high enough to see the whole thing. Have you? But one thing I do know is that I've always walked on a plane and operated on a plane, a planet. The most striking and significant fact in connection with this globe of ours is the white race. There's no such thing as a white human. So understand that. Remember, this is a newspaper. This is propaganda. This is something put out. These are opinions. These are the words of men. You know how everyone always needs a source for everything? Sources don't hurt when someone's just talking out the side of their neck. It's all right to have a source, but understand that a man or a woman wrote that or came up with that. You sourcing another person, you sourcing another human, another male or female. And what you say don't matter unless they said it first. The most striking and significant fact. So who is he talking about? Speech delivered by Honorable Ignatius Donnelly at Turner Hall before the Sons of Norway, May 17th, 1898. The most striking and significant fact in connection with this globe of ours is the white race. He says it's the most striking and significant fact in connection with this globe of ours is the white race. There's no such thing as a white human. So who was he speaking of? Well, in the previous article, it says the Aryan race includes all or nearly all of the people of Europe. These embrace the Celtic, Italic, Hellenic, Teutonic, Slavonic, Dutch, and English branches, and some others of less importance. The Persians and the Hindus belong to the Aryan people. Is he talking about the Aryan race? I mean, no disparagement to the black race. Now, there's no such thing as a black. The yellow race, no such thing as a yellow. Or the red race, no such thing as a fire engine red human. But the fact remains that for activity of the brain, for mental grasp, for physical daring and endurance, for power to overrun the world and conquer and colonize it, the white race stands at the very forefront of the sons of men. So the most striking and significant thing about this, quote, white race, end quote, he says, is for activity of the brain, for mental grasp, for physical daring and endurance, for power to overrun the world and conquer and colonize it. This is what he finds great. This is what he connects with greatness of people. Their power to overrun the world and conquer and colonize it. Now, what does this say to you? What does this say to you? Because most of these people are the ones who brought their religion. They brought their Christianity here. Just like all the people bring their religion here. Okay? And they give it to you. They coerce you to become a part of it. They give you their God. They give you their death. Think about this. In their same religion, they say and you say that this, quote, God, end quote, don't make no mistakes, didn't make no mistakes. They must think they God made a mistake because they said for power to overrun the world and conquer and colonize it. Did they teach you that they God said that they were supposed to overrun the world and conquer and colonize it? Did they say that's what they God said to do? Or is they going against their God in doing that? I thought it was turn the other cheek and this and that, and it's a bunch of stuff. But this, Honorable Ignatius Donnelly says, is synonymous with the greatness of the white race, is the power to overrun the world and conquer and colonize it. See, I don't got no interest in conquering and colonizing the world. See, most of us, most of the Americans, the only Americans it ever was, is, and will be the American, the people who they called Indians, who known throughout history as the Indians of America. See, we just want to be left alone. the North Carolinian, Raleigh, North Carolina, Thursday, July 13th, 1899. The North Carolinian, Raleigh, North Carolina, Thursday, July 13th, 1899. Shout out Kerr. July 13th. The passing of the Negro in politics. White men will rule. The white people of North Carolina will never, now, mind you, the white people of North Carolina are foreigners. They are immigrants. There are no white people indigenous to the soil of North Carolina. So it's funny that it says the passing of the Negro in politics, white men will rule. This is 1899. Why didn't the white people, the quote, white people, end quote, stay where they was to rule? Why didn't they just rule their portion? Because it wasn't, that wasn't great to them to just rule their portion or rule what was yours. Because you can't rule what's yours. You can't rule what you come from, because it's where you come from. It's where your people are. It needs you and you need it. So in order to rule, you got to go take something from somebody else. The white people of North Carolina will never again submit to the Negro domination, nor that the Negro shall rule the white man in any part of the state. This was the irrevocable decree of November 8th, 1898. For this reason, the Republican Party can never hope to regain control in North Carolina so long as it continues under present influences. For it is manifest that so long as it so continues, Negro domination in certain parts of the state will inevitably follow its success. And the influence of the Negro in politics will of necessity be exerted and felt in every part of the state. This is 1898. I don't want to, I'm not going to keep, listen, all right, we going to go there. Negro, no such thing as a Negro. No such thing as a black. Who they talking about? They talking about the people that's indigenous to that place that they terming as North Carolina. They talking about the American Indians, the Americans, the only Americans it ever was, is, and will be. Because them the people that was there, them the people that's still there. This is 1898. Slavery was so called, the thing you term as slavery that you know as slavery, which I'm not going to get into that right now. I've went over that in many shows before this one. But what, 1860s, the middle of the 1800s, so-called slavery was abolished. Emancipation Proclamation, 1830s, early 1800s to mid 1800s. We'll keep it there. This is 1898, mind you. Okay. It says, so long as it continues, it's talking about the Republican Party. It says, for this reason, the Republican Party can never hope to regain control in North Carolina so long as it continues under present influences. For it is manifest that so long as it so continues, Negro domination in certain parts of the state will inevitably follow its success. And the influence of the Negro in politics will of necessity be exerted and felt in every part of the state. Did you know that your people was dominating? Did you know that the chit chatter was that your people was dominating? And it was, People didn't like that. It's hard to say chit chatter when it's a newspaper. I mean, anyone could read it. It just so happens, while I'm doing looking through records, some of the records say that some of my people, they couldn't read or write. Why would they need to? If you self-sufficient, ain't no need to know how to read or write. Read or write what? You gotta tend to that harvest. You making your own clothes. You got a water source. You using fire for heat, light, not to mention the thousands of inventions that's happening throughout this time, or that the patent office is becoming aware of, because we know that these thousands of inventions that our people was coming up with in the mid 1800s to the mid 1900s to the early 1900s, we know that just because others became aware of them and wrote them down and registered them, and to make it easier to lease them out once the people were no longer here, and steal them, we know that the skills that it took for those people to come up with those things, those skills just didn't start with them. They got parents, they got aunties, uncles, cousins, grandparents, great grandparents who had the same mind that they had, who was cut from the same cloth. See, we ain't gonna settle for nothing but all the way. Let's shake it. It is futile for Republicans to longer deny that their party in North Carolina is controlled by the Negro, and that government by it is necessarily government under Negro influence, or properly under American influence. Did you catch that? It is futile. It is futile for Republicans to longer deny that their party in North Carolina is controlled by the Negro, or controlled by the American Indian, or the American, and that government by it is necessarily government under Negro influence. Henderson Gold Leaf, Henderson, North Carolina newspaper, Thursday, February 1st, 1900. Henderson Gold Leaf, Henderson, North Carolina, Thursday, February 1st, 1900. White supremacy. Come, let us reason together, white men. The amendment must and will be carried. White men must rule in every part of North Carolina. The fiat has gone forth, and there is no turning back. Negro rule is a thing of the past in this state, and the situation may as well be accepted first and last, once for all. The day of Negro control, the day of American Indian control in the South has passed, and passed forever. This is the year 1900. And it may safely be asserted that no party controlled by the Negro will ever again carry a state south of Mason and Dixon's line, and that the white men who hereafter attempt to manipulate the Negro, manipulate the American Indian vote to further their mean and selfish ambition and to degrade their race, will become daily and yearly more and more odious in the eyes of self-respecting white men and women. Let Senator Pritchard and his office holding Negrophilist put this in their pipe and smoke it. F.M. Simmons. The Weekly Star newspaper, Wilmington, North Carolina, Friday, May 11th, 1900. The Weekly Star newspaper, Wilmington, North Carolina, Friday, May 11th, 1900. White supremacy in South Carolina. White supremacy in South Carolina. South Carolina was the first of the southern states to declare for and establish. South Carolina was the first of the southern states to declare for and establish white supremacy, a task that was anything but encouraging. And it says South Carolina was the first of the southern states. You might say, well, Florida is south. If technically in terms of the United States, this place we term as the United States, but we know it's all the Americas. But they're calling South Carolina the South. That's because in the earlier times, we were talking about these 13 colonies. So South Carolina was the first of the southern states to declare for and establish white supremacy, a task that was anything but encouraging for those who contemplated the possible difficulties in the way. But the men who undertook it were no ordinary men, but men with nerve of steel and indomitable will. If they had not been, they would not have undertaken it. That was nearly 25 years ago, when the state was under the rule of unscrupulous northern adventurer and his equally unscrupulous native white associate, and when there were in the state 30,000 more Negro or American Indians than white voters. With the white men of that state, it was white supremacy or submission to Negro domination or to American domination, with all that this implied, but determined to win or to force military rule, which was preferable to the mongrel rule of the Negro or the American Indian, the political adventurer and the white scallywag. They threw forms to the winds, threw themselves on their manhood and won. Senator Tillman, who is nothing if not candid, has just written a paper which is published in Frank Leslie's Weekly, telling with what the New York Sun calls amazing frankness how the contest for white supremacy was waged and won. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. The New American. This is the New American. South Carolina state rep caught planning election fraud scheme. This is more recent times. South Carolina state rep caught planning election fraud scheme. A state representative in South Carolina, Christy N. Matthews, a hard left black Democrat. This is from thenewamerican.com /US/politics. thenewamerican.com. A state representative in South Carolina, Christy N. Matthews, actually Crystal N. Matthews, a hard left black Democrat. She says this was revealed in audio. I'm very much a nigger in a lot of ways, but I know how to turn it off and turn it on. Okay. So this is, it says, audio, South Carolina state rep caught planning election fraud scheme. A state representative in South Carolina, Crystal N. Matthews, a hard left black Democrat, said, I'm very much a nigger in a lot of ways, but I know how to turn it off and turn it on. I still got to struggle to raise money for my campaign. She says, I still got to struggle to raise money for my campaign. Where the F is my black people with money? The estimable member of the Palmetto State's House of Representatives said, I don't care about no dope money. Give me that dope boy money. She said, shh, where the F, where the F and dope? Where the duffel bag boys? Find me somebody from your family that don't even know you donate to my campaign and put that under their names. Honestly, these ain't the same type of black people. She means properly American Indians. She says these ain't the same type of black people that I grew up around. I don't recognize these black people. So black because I don't understand the type of black that they are. Now, can I talk intelligently? I could be. Listen, I can move in all kinds of circles, but I'm a nigga at heart. I love black people, properly American Indians, Americans, the only Americans it ever was, is, and will be. She says, I feel safest around my people. We need some folks that can wear all black at night and take they effing yard signs down when they sleeping. Tomorrow, Matthews faces Democrat opponent Catherine Bruce in a runoff election for the party nomination that will determine who faces GOP Senator Tim Scott. These are a few comments from that article, a few comments of the regular schmegula degula people that I found were interesting. This character, David Hicks, and this is 4 years ago, it says this comment was, this woman is a hardcore racist. The next character, Nancy Bryson, 4 years ago says, and that is completely okay with me so long as she moves to a country with a very high percentage of people of her race, her preferred associates. So this person, Nancy Bryson, is saying it's okay that this sister who talking greasy is racist as long as she moved to a country with a very high percentage of people of her race, her preferred associates. Well, her so-called race is she's in the country of the people she's referring to, which is America. America is the country of the American Indian, the people who are falsely termed blacks, African Americans, Negroes, coloreds, mulattoes. So she's actually in the right place. Although I don't know that particular woman's lineage. I don't know her, I should say, I don't know her genealogy. I don't know her 4 grandparents, her 8 great grandparents, her 16 second grades, her 32 third grades, and so on and so forth. But the way she was talking, I'm assuming she's an American, properly an American Indian, although she's talking quite greasy. And so this lady is saying she should go back to a country. And it's funny because I'm assuming this lady, Nancy Bryson, who says, and that is completely okay with me so long as she moves to a country with a very high percentage of people of the people of her race, her preferred associates. This is common among the foreigner. The foreigners come here and enjoy for lack of a better term, the energy of the indigenous American, the people who you falsely call blacks, coloreds, Negroes. They enjoy so much what the American Indians have done. What is America? What the soil? They enjoy it so much that they start feeling entitled. You know, they come over here, they fight their battles over here on our soil. They brought their civilization over here. You know what their civilization encompasses? All manner of criminality and vampires and cannibals and sodopedo, all that stuff. So she says that she should go back to a country with a very high percentage of people of her race. I'm assuming she means that she should go back to Africa or something like that. This person, La Roche Foucault, 4 years ago, she is absolute vermin. This character, Summer, 4 years ago, says, Project Veritas does great work by exposing the cheaters in the Democratic Party. PV, Project Veritas, proves what we might otherwise suspect, but without such evidence. This woman is a liar and thief. She drags down her own race in the eyes of others. She sets back the dream of Martin Luther King a good 40 years by her evil intentions. If she is reading this, may she realize she is counterproductive to every cause her race has fought to achieve. This revelation is a major setback for South Carolina, for her party, and for her race. GOP, beware of the wolves in sheep's clothing. They have just admitted to disguising themselves. Now, it has nothing to do with whether I agree with what that sister said when she was, in the audio, when she was on the phone talking to who she was talking to, and it was being recorded. And she very well knew it was possibly being recorded. Not that I agree or disagree with her. I could care less. But see, this person right here, Summer, 4 years ago, she says she sets back the dream of Martin Luther King a good 40 years. Well, I'm going to assume this person, Summer, has no idea the plight of Martin Luther King, who he was, who his people were, what his genealogy is, what he stood for. I'm pretty sure they have no idea because these people, she didn't dig deep to learn about Martin Luther King. She says Martin Luther King a good 40 years by evil intentions. She sets back the dream of Martin Luther King. See, this is the problem. She's talking about a dream, and she's talking about the dream of white kids and black kids being able to go to school together, all this stuff that benefits the foreigner, the immigrant. It gives them your stuff. That's what this woman talking about. She talking about the dream that's supposed to give them your stuff. When they come over, broke, starving, and gang banging, thirsty, begging for a popsicle, you gonna give them an opportunity to have a piece of that dream. See, and we living in reality, okay? We live in reality, not the dream, not no dream. We ain't never want no dream. Foreigners, immigrants, and us, for the most part, long before Martin Luther King, we was all right. They mind their business, we mind our business. when they start coming over here. I ain't talking about before they came over here. Because, see, nobody writes that down. No one tries to find out about that. Or if they were, you would have an influx of foreigners trying to interview our elders. But they don't care what your elders got to say. They gonna give you your thoughts. They gonna give you the thoughts of your elders. So this woman, Summer, she says she drags down her own race in the eyes of others, in her eyes, and the eyes of people who look like her, the eyes of people who are foreigners, who are immigrants. She ain't dragging down the people who they term as her race are people who look like you and me. But little do they know, we don't know her. That's her business, what she doing. It ain't got nothing to do with us. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I ain't a part of no race. The next character's comment, sick of it all, 4 years ago. What a wonderful example of humanity. Why you bleeping out niggers when blacks be talking about they own race, they own racist selves? What a wonderful example of humanity. Why you bleeping out niggers when blacks be talking about they own racist selves? No such thing as a black. And yeah, we say what we say. And ain't no need to bleep it out. You right. And I'm talking about freedom of speech before freedom of speech. Y'all brought that freedom stuff here. Okay? Y'all brought that freedom stuff. That come with y'all civilization. That come with y'all death culture. Y'all vampire culture. Ron, this character is called Ron. And I say character because these are theoretical humans. I don't know these people. They don't have a face. I can't hear them. I can't see them. So they're theoretical as far as I'm concerned. They're words on the screen, words on paper. Ron, the character Ron, I found the comments interesting. Ron, the character, well, will she do any jail time? Of course not. No penalties means election fraud will continue unabated, if not accelerate. Well, will she do any jail time? They always trying to put somebody in a box. Whether what the sister said was right or wrong, whether what she said was some of the tactics that she said that she wouldn't be opposed to using, although to me she was just talking greasy, period, point blank. She was talking greasy. But if she was open to that course of action that she was speaking of, she didn't act on it. No one caught her acting on it. She was talking about it. She would be open to that course of action. This character named Ron says, well, will she do any jail time? Always trying to put people in a box. Always trying to put people in a box. See, when you in a box, you know how these people, they buy a bird and they put the bird in a cage and sit the cage by the window. Torture. Until you in that box, you have no idea that you would almost never wish that on nobody. The next character is JLG. Hopefully, this would be senator from North Carolina. This would-be senator from North Carolina is about to get some hands-on experience with the correctional system. It is obvious that prior to her telephone conversation with Ballard, she had none, because otherwise she would have known that any call with an inmate is recorded. On the other hand, perhaps she knew about the recording but didn't care. In either case, Matthews is too stupid even for the Senate. This is them talking about how stupid this woman is. And when you look at the scope of what this political makeup is, the whole political thing, you would see that if she is stupid, too stupid, TOO, too stupid, she's in good company. Company that actually encourages stupidity. There's actually a complete machine behind propagating stupidity. It says, hopefully, the would-be senator from South Carolina is about to get some hands-on experience with the correctional system. So someone else wanting to put someone in a box. Demonic. William 775, this character says, this is the communist scum that we are up against. No, you're not up against anyone. See, if you would have never came to this soil portion, none of this would be in question. She wouldn't be talking greasy about some theoretical criminal system, and you wouldn't be speaking with such a sense of entitlement and ownership of this soil or anything on this soil. The next character is Roscoe. Black Democrats hard at work trying their best to change America for the worst. Wow. See, now this is an entitled foreigner who, this entitled foreigner, so listen. In the 1828 Noah Webster's American Dictionary of the English Language, in the definition of America, at the end it says that the Europeans that are now called Americans, America now refers to people of European descent living in America, foreigners. It says they must be patriotic, because they must be patriotic because they have to earn their whiteness. They have to earn the right to participate in identity theft and be known as the new Americans. This person is a perfect example of that. Say Black Democrats, properly American Indian, American Democrats, hard at work trying their best to change America for the worst. This is coming from someone who is benefiting from that so-called Black Democrats' generosity, and to a certain degree acquiescence and participation, no doubt. The next character, John from Toronto, Ebonics forever. So they're calling the way she's speaking, or the way the author of the article, the person who wrote the article, wrote the words that came out of her mouth and tried to capture the way that they said them, kind of like the census takers when the foreigners came around. When the census takers were foreigners, some of the census takers were people who look like me and you, other American Indians, other Americans. But when foreigners were taking the census, and some of your people who talk like we talk, right? Who speak American, more American. There was very little English sprinkled in that American at the time. Now, most of us, when we talk, we speak American and we sprinkle it with English, depending on the situation that we in. Sometimes we speak a little bit more English, and the American is peppered throughout. But we speak a little more English so that the foreigners can understand what we're saying. Although the foreigners really do take quite well to the American. As a matter of fact, they really like speaking American. It's really like a form of comedy to them. They really feel invigorated, and it gives them a sense of power. So this person says Ebonics forever. No, it's not Ebonics. It's American. Don't you notice that that the niggas from all over this country, that we all kind of have our own dialect, but we all understand one another, and we are all copied by every foreigner that comes here. Why? Because when you go somewhere, you have to acclimate to the people that are there, the indigenous people. So you start doing as the indigenous people do, which means you speak like them. The Ebonics thing came later. That's just another label. Just another label. People put labels, false labels on things they don't understand. This person says, the name is cut off of the character. It says, if you lie down with the dogs, you're sure to arise with fleas. They must be Italian. Well, with this mongrel, it'll be an infestation that you'll never. We heard that word mongrel before in one of those previous articles, right? From the late 1800s, 1898 or 1900. They said the same thing. They called I believe it was the Americans who were dominant and who were dominating. They were Republicans. I believe they called them mongrels. They were referring to Negroes, or properly the American Indians. But this is what 100 years later. And as you can see, the foreigners are still using the same language. If you lie down with the dogs, you're sure to arise with fleas. Well, with this mongrel, it'll be an infestation that you'll never get rid of, ever. No, because this is her soil. This is American soil, the land of the American Indians, the people you falsely term as blacks, African Americans, colored, mulattoes, Negroes. No, we ain't going nowhere. This deeper than a foundational black. First of all, there is no such thing as a black. Now, we Americans, you can use that blanket term. Listen, if you put USA on some, first of all, the United States is a corporation. America is the soil from the top of Canada to the bottom of Argentina. All the islands surrounding it are the Americas. All of this is America and the Americas. There has been an invasion of millions and millions of foreigners, immigrants who now consider themselves Americans, but we don't go to where their homeland is and consider ourselves what they are. Why? Because we don't want to be. We is who we is. But everybody want to be us, and you can see that because they use our nation as their surnation. Wherever they come from, hyphen American on it. It's identity theft. We don't want to be you. You want to be us. And if that's a lie, if I'm lying, go home. Go back to where your people are. Don't just don't just uh don't just holiday in Europe. Become a resident. Live there. Stay there. Don't just holiday in China. Don't just holiday in this place or that place. Go and stay. If I'm lying. He say, it'll be an infestation that you'll never get rid of, ever. She sure laid a snow job on her constituents. Gee, honey, what a total disgrace you are for the state of South Carolina. This is that woman who they're referring to. I forgot her name, but she is the Democratic. Um, she's running for a Democratic office in South Carolina. This is a picture of her. The Chicago Chronicle, Chicago, Illinois, Sunday, July 25th, 1897. Now we go back, way back. Well, it's 1897, not too far back. It's like yesterday. When you start looking through those records of your people, 1897 is really like yesterday. It's not long ago at all. But I know the propaganda machine today will have you thinking that 5 years ago is old school. Yeah, the whole concept of time is some of your God. I mean, you wear a watch telling you some theoretical movements of a. They show you some numbers on your wrist that tell you where you at in life. I mean, it's light outside, then it ain't no light no more. What don't you understand about that? Only reason you need that time is because you got to go to work in the morning. Yes. You got to be over there at a particular moment. The Chicago Chronicle, Chicago, Illinois, Sunday, July 25th, 1897. The Chicago Chronicle newspaper, Chicago, Illinois, Sunday, July 25th, 1897. They have long lived unknown. Mysterious white race of people that inhabit African mountains. They have long lived unknown. Mysterious white race of people that inhabit African mountains have kept aloof from all neighboring tribes for 300 years. And this is 1897. They have kept aloof from all neighboring tribes for 300 years. So we're talking 1597. They have kept aloof. This mysterious white race of people that inhabit African mountains. From the New York Journal, that white races of mysterious origin and of an advanced grade of civilization exist in certain of the as yet unexplored plateaus of Africa has long been a matter of tradition among all those who have devoted their attention to the ethnographical and geographical science of the Dark Continent. And Rider Haggard and other English novelists have found in reports bearing upon the subject the theme of many of their most popular stories. But no attention has been drawn as yet to the fact that in the interior of San Jago, the largest of the Cape Verde Islands, which nestle in the Atlantic off the most westerly point of northern Africa, there exists the strange people known by the name of the Cantatas, who for 300 years past have been absolutely cut off from all intercourse with the outer world. For 300 years, they missed those people. They supposedly got you, went and got you, but they missed them. I think they would have stopped. They would have stopped focusing on you if they would have saw them people. They would have been like, man, they doing all right over here. Or were those the original people? I don't know. And who are fair haired, light complexioned, and blue eyed, whereas the remaining population of the Cape Verde Islands consists of Negroes and of Portuguese, who are almost as swarthy and somber in color as full-blooded Africans. On this farther end of the lake, and in the interior of this sister mountain of San Antonio, dwell the mysterious white race known as the Cantatas. Distrustful, apparently, of the gaze of strangers, these people of the mountain seldom leave their habitations during daytime, and on the slightest alarm of visitors, they seek the shelter of the rocks. The caves, perhaps? But by hiding on the opposite cliffs until evening, and with the aid of glasses, it is possible to get a good view of them when they begin at sunset to gather on the grassy meadow which fronts the opening of the cave dwellers, and extends down to the water's edge. Fair as Europeans, beautiful fair-haired, white-skinned girls clad in flowing white linen garments, which scarcely conceal the sinuous beauty of perfect grace and form, come out to wash linen in the lake and to sport on the cool green grass. The men, too, are simply dressed in much the same way, their white linen garments being admirably suited to the tropic climate. Many other signs of a high degree of civilization appear. Man, do the right thing.